Conspiracies around the death of Nipsey Hussle. It's truly sad to see this happen. Nipsey was a wonderful person for this community and the people.
You know, like I said,
using words like that.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, we said it earlier, like I educated myself. At one point I was ignorant and lost, but like you gotta know yourself.
Before we look at what happened to Nipsey Hussle and the circumstances of his passing, as well as all the conspiracies surrounding it, it's important to look at the life of Nipsey and see how this all came to be. Nipsey was born in south of Los Angeles in Crenshaw District in 1985. His family had a mixed heritage, and that had a very interesting impact on his life. And quote, "I was raised in LA by my mom. You know, my mom's family is Black American. I always knew my heritage from my dad, but I never met my family. My dad was the only one in America. Everyone else was back home. So when I went out there, it educated me to the other side." As he grew up, he started the role with a group called the Rolling 60s Neighborhood Crips, and as noted, he is a devout member of the group in the past. After adopting the Nipsey Hussle nickname from a friend, a spin-off of a comic character named interestingly enough, and he went on to make his first mixtape when he was only 20 years old. Nipsey went on to release 2 more mixtapes in 2008. He eventually got signed by Epic Records and released his first single in 2009, Hustle by the Hour. His early successes earned him collaborations with rappers like Drake and Snoop Dogg, and that in turn got him even more attention. But his deal with Epic Records wasn't going like he expected it to. So after he got let go by them, he went and started up his own record label, All Money In, and he released more mixtapes through there. Over the next several years, Nipsey Hussle did many things in his way in terms of music and how he released it. He did collaborative albums, singles, mixtapes, and much more. And then by 2018, he finally released his first full-on album, and Victory Lap was a major success, and was so beloved by many people and critics that it was nominated for Best Rap Album of the Year at the Grammys. He would lose that award to Cardi B, though as many will attest to, it's great just to know that you're well-liked enough to be nominated for a Grammy.
It's like, you know, it was overwhelming a little bit. You know, it was, like I said, inspiring, you know, humbling.
Nipsey was also a businessman. He had his own clothing store called Marathon Clothing, which helped fund the Marathon agency, and actually did some acting work on the side. Not to mention he was very well connected in the rap world. He made an impact with a lot of people, including some of the biggest names in the rap world today, like Drake and Rihanna. So when his life was taken, it hit a lot of people hard. So now that you're all finally caught up, let's break down what happened. Number 5. The crime. The passing of Nipsey Hussle was very sudden and unexpected, which is why many are trying to figure out what exactly happened. The event itself occurred on March 31st. Nipsey Hussle was outside of the Marathon clothing store that he owned, which was actually named as a reference to one of his famous mixtape series that he did that was very popular, when suddenly a person stepped out and took his life. This whole thing occurred in the area of Slauson Avenue and Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, where the store was near. It took place at 3:20 in the afternoon, and a couple of the members of the Nipsey crew, who were also outside with him at the store, were hit in the incident as well. Now, as for what was seen, that's a little tricky. Some of the camera footage of the event was found via some nearby security cameras. The quality of those vary from the angles and the cameras themselves. New footage that recently dropped, though, seems to indicate more than just a random incident, but something much more. The man who would eventually take his life approached Nipsey Hussle and then got into an argument with him. The exact contents of this conversation are unknown, as there was no significant audio from either of these camera tapes. But the police believe that the man believed that Nipsey was a snitch in some fashion, which may tie back to his proclamations of him being in that Los Angeles street group, but that's just speculation at the moment. The man came and went multiple times, and each time the argument with him got more and more intense. Eventually, the man took Nipsey's life. The event took course over several seconds as the man tried to make sure Nipsey was gone. Then once he was sure the deed was done, he left. An ambulance did reach Nipsey in a decent amount of time, but he was too far gone, and he passed away. The obvious question now is, who did this to Nipsey? Unfortunately, the camera angles weren't enough to get a positive ID, and the man had clearly thought out the whole situation through. He had a getaway car and a driver waiting for him once everything was done, which indicates that this was a premeditated incident. Thankfully, the rap world didn't need to wait long for things to get done.
On the streets of Los Angeles, a manhunt for rapper Nipsey Hussle's suspected killer.
Number 4. Apprehending the key suspect. LAPD arrested Eric Holder on charges of taking Nipsey Hussle's life and hurting others in his assaults on April 2nd of 2019. He was the police's sole suspect apparently, and was found in the Bellflower area of LA. According to the statement from the police, Holder was a fellow street group member, like Nipsey Hussle. The police also elaborated on what they believe the events were that led up to the definitive incident. Mr. Holder walked up on multiple occasions questions and engaged in a conversation with Nipsey and the others that were there. He left and subsequently came back armed and took Nipsey's life, said the LAPD Chief Michael Moore. He then added, "At this point in our investigation, based on witness statements and the background of those who were identified, we believe this to be a dispute between Mr. Hussle and Mr. Holder. It appears to be a personal matter between the two of them in regards to a dispute, and I'll leave it at that. There are many ways to take this, but there are still many questions as to why this went down at all. Was it really as simple as a group dispute? And why was it Holder that was assigned to do the deed? Furthermore, if the goal was to take Nipsey's life, why try and talk with him multiple times before doing that? Things really just don't add up, and people have just started to notice that. And as they have, and as many others have noticed, more and more notions and ideas of what really happened have spawned throughout the internet.
The sacrifice it takes, the fear you have to have, the real gangster in you to tell people about Dr. Sebi. You know you risking your life when you tell people about Dr. Sebi, man.
Number 3. Dr. Sebi. One of the more interesting conspiracy theories surrounding the passing of Nipsey Hussle is whether Eric Holder was acting on orders, which would make the person or persons who gave the order just as guilty as Holder himself. So that begs the question of who put out the contract. One of the theories suggests that it was a group of people who wanted to take Nipsey Hussle out, but not for his street ties or even his music, but rather because his connections to the one and only Dr. Sebi. You see, Nipsey Hussle was going to be on a documentary on Dr. Sebi, and it was very clear to most that the movie was not a bad take on the doctor, but rather one that praised him. You see, Dr. Sebi, known by his real name Alfredo Bowman, was a herbalist, and one that attracted a very high-quality crowd. He had people like John Travolta and Michael Jackson coming to him for various remedies, and he claimed that he even had cures for very certain bad diseases like AIDS, cancer, diabetes, and more. A lot of people believed him, even though he was not actually a doctor, and he never got a degree in medicine.
These documents, what they show is that we cure AIDS from a positive to a negative.
And he never even studied it. He eventually went to trials for his ads about its treatments, and the government shut down his practice in certain ways. These claims were false. The New York Assistant Attorney General Shirley Stark stated, "Our office filed a lawsuit against USHA and entered a consent agreement under which USHA can no longer make therapeutic claims for any of its products." Bowen was charged but not convicted of the various medical crimes, and he eventually died at the age of 82. But before then, he got his hooks into Nipsey Hussle. He wanted to make a documentary about the trial that Dr. Sebi went through. People think he got taken out because of this due to the fact that the government didn't want the truth of the court case to come out. Conspiracy indeed. But that's not as far-fetched as you might think, because after his passing, fellow rapper and TV personality Nick Cannon went on to Instagram to say that he would do the documentary to ensure it got finished.
So I think there's some synergies there, and I'm gonna go on and carry that legacy as much as I can in a fearless manner.
Before stating, "And the Lord said, job well done, my son. Nipsey Hussle, this is how I want to remember you. Laughing, smiling, I ain't sleep yet. Thinking about our conversations. Real ones from a real one. I'm going to say this only for the real ones to recognize. Where you left off, we're gonna carry one. It's a marathon. So I'm picking up the baton because they can't take us all. Spiritual warfare is real and in full effect. And now your spirit is protecting your community eternally. Your words, your steps, your walk always was and always will be solid. Now your message is my message. Your work is my work. I know you're still rocking with us and your voice will never be silenced, because to be absent from the body is to be present with the Most High. So now that you're in peace, don't rest. Keep leading. Keep shining, King. Cosmic love, my brother." The bold statement, and one that speaks to the nature of things clearly, Cannon thinks that this is more than just a random street event. And YouTube, and including us apparently, is filled with videos about how this conspiracy is real. YouTube even had to make a statement about it due to the non-evidence nature of the hot takes. Oh, but social media didn't hold back either. They also weighed in on things and whether it was all tied back to Dr. Sebi. Needless to say, many did. This isn't a coincidence. Nipsey Hussle was working on a documentary that will narrate Dr. Sebi's trial in 1985. Dr. Sebi claimed that he could cure AIDS and was allegedly executed by the way of the US medical corporations because of his AIDS remedy, which would take away from their profits. Look into Dr. Sebi's curing HIV. Nipsey Hussle was making a documentary on the pharmaceutical industry being worth billions, and he was going to expose the government for having no cure. Now he's gone. Don't let the media fool you. That's some government shit over the Dr. Sebi document. If it was over gang shit, they would have gotten him a long time ago. Nipsey wasn't hard to find. Interesting take on things, don't you think? That there were many, many more before who wanted to connect the dots in a way that proves that this was real beyond measure. But number 2, there are those who see the truth.
He had earned this reputation as someone who, at a really young age, was already giving back to his community in incredible ways.
There are also people who wish this kind of conspiracy talk would just stop. As I noted, the internet has been flooded with all sorts of videos and topics about the Dr. Sebi conspiracy theory, whether it be by the government or by some other benefactor to Nipsey Hussle's passing. But just as many are tired of the notions that everything is a conspiracy theory. There are articles and videos out there from people pleading to stop looking for the truth and just accept the truth. He was taken down by someone who didn't agree with him. There may have been a higher power, but it's not the government or a secret group trying to hide something. It was a man or a group of people who didn't want Nipsey Hussle around anymore, and now he's not. A Particle article that I came across noted that they understand why people need the conspiracy to be real, so that it wouldn't be just another random and pointless passing. For it to have meaning. Not to mention that over the recent years, the police haven't always had the best record of dealing with certain passings or situations, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong here. The evidence clearly points to Eric Holder, and if he had a boss that ordered the hit, they'll find him and get them too. It's okay to look for meaning in something, but it's not okay to find the most out there meaning in the world and try to preach that it's real. Who exactly does that help? Number 1. Honoring the fallen. Where the case of Nipsey Hussle goes from here is a bit of a mystery. Is there someone behind the scenes? Maybe. Do we already have the true perpetrator? Maybe. But until that's all settled, all we can do is look at the future and honor the memory of Nipsey Hussle. Many of his friends and fellow rappers weighed in on his passing and said some very kind words about him, such as Drake, who said on Instagram, "My whole energy is just at a low right now hearing this." Drake said in his Instagram post about Nip, "We just linked for the first time in years and said we were gonna do a new song this summer because it had been so long. You were having the best run, and I was so happy watching from a distance, fam. Nobody ever talks down on your name. You were a real one to your people and to the rest of us. I'm only doing this here because I want the world to know. I saw you as a man of respect and a Don. Rest easy, my G." Rihanna also dropped in and noted, "This doesn't make any sense. My spirit is shaken by this. Dear God, may his spirit rest in peace, and may you grant divine comfort to all his loved ones. I'm so sorry this happened to you." And many more picked up from there. So do right by them. The friends and family of Nipsey Hussle look towards the future and mourn the loss of a rapper who made a clear impact on so many. And so with that, you now have a wider view into the passing of Nipsey Hussle and the conspiracies that have come through his passing. So do any of them make sense to you? Also, what do you think about them as a whole? Could any be true, or is the truth something much more simple? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on King Trending. Hey, just a reminder that we're changing up the giveaways. From now on, we're offering the Galaxy Note 9, the one that comes with the exclusive Fortnite skin, the new iPhone X Max, which we'll pre-order for you, and the new Apple Watch Series 4, which we'll also pre-order for you. The winner gets to decide between these three. Make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, drop a like, and comment the hidden message in the video for a chance to win. You got nothing to lose. Go for it.